Before gods ruled, before storms had names, before death learned patience, there was a silence, and then the silence screamed. The sky did not open, it was wounded. Lightning fell like judgment, mountains trembled like frightened beasts, oceans forgot their borders, and from within the tearing heavens a power awakened that no god could ignore. They called him Baal, not a hero, not a tyrant, a storm that chose its own destiny. But when thunder challenges death itself, something ancient begins to move in the dark, because storms may command the sky, but death commands the end. Tonight, you will witness the rise of a god, the hunger of silence, and the battle that reshaped eternity. This is the legend of the Lord of Storms. Baal's rise did not arrive like a whisper. It arrived like a wound across the heavens. The ancient courts of the gods felt it before they saw it, a tremor in the fabric of eternity, a pressure in the sky that made even immortals pause. His name moved through divine halls like forbidden thunder, spoken in awe, repeated in terror. Some called him a savior of rain, others feared him as the architect of ruin, but all agreed on one truth: when Baal rose, the world could no longer sleep peacefully. He was the harbinger of storms, the sovereign of thunder, wielding clouds and lightning as if they were mere extensions of his will. Where his shadow passed, the sky darkened instinctively, rivers swelled beyond memory, forests bent like kneeling armies, and mountains groaned as though ancient bones were being twisted by unseen hands. The air itself learned fear. Even silence became electric in his presence, charged with the promise of devastation. Yet power never walks alone. It drags enemies behind it like long, patient shadows. Far beyond the roaring skies, in a realm where light dared not linger, Moat observed. The god of death did not rage, he did not hurry. He watched. His kingdom was built from stillness, from endings, from the cold certainty that every pulse must one day stop. And Baal's storms, loud, fertile, life-giving, offended him, not because they ruled land or sky, but because they kept the world breathing. Moat did not desire Baal's throne, he desired Baal's silence. In caverns carved from darkness, Moat felt the rhythm of life carried by Baal's reign. Each thunderclap was an insult to decay. Each storm-fed river mocked death itself. And so Moat's hunger grew, not for conquest, but for extinction. He imagined a world where Baal's lightning never spoke again, where clouds no longer answered prayer, where storms became only forgotten myths buried in dust. While Baal commanded tempests above, betrayal was already learning how to crawl below. In unseen temples and forgotten corridors of divinity, whispers multiplied. Alliances shifted like cracks in ice. Loyal eyes turned uncertain. Fear disguised itself as devotion. The divine world, once stable, began to fracture under the weight of Baal's unstoppable ascent. Every god felt it. Something vast was approaching, something that would not ask permission from fate. And as thunder rolled endlessly across the heavens, Baal stood at the center of it all, not merely a god of storms, but a living force of becoming. Life followed his reign, chaos followed his lightning, unaware, perhaps unwilling to know, that in the deepest shadows, death itself had already chosen him as its next great silence. Anat did not arrive quietly. She walked through the storm as if fire itself had learned how to breathe.
Wind tore at her armor, rain struck her like arrows, yet she never slowed. Where Baal ruled the sky, Anat ruled the battlefield. She was fierce, untamed, and loyal beyond reason. But even loyalty has a moment where it feels the weight of destiny pressing against the soul. She stopped beside Baal, her hair and cloak snapping like living flames against the tempest. The storm followed his command instinctively, circling him like a crown of thunder. Anat watched the heavens twist at his will, and for the first time in countless battles, uncertainty touched her eyes. "Do you feel it?" she asked, her voice cut through the roaring winds, sharp and human in a world of gods. Not fear, something deeper, a sense that the storm before them was not merely weather, but the beginning of an ending. Baal did not answer with words. The sky answered for him. Clouds collapsed into spirals, lightning coiled like serpents, thunder rolled across existence itself as if the heavens were acknowledging their master. The air thickened, heavy with prophecy. Anat felt it then, the coming fracture, the moment when loyalty would be tested, not by enemies, but by fate itself. Yet storms do not rise alone. Far beyond Baal's domain, the seas began to rebel. Yam, lord of the ocean, stirred in his abyssal throne. His kingdom had always known balance, tide, depth, and endless patience. But Baal's dominion over land and sky disturbed that ancient order. Rain fed rivers that challenged the sea. Thunder echoed across waters that once answered only to Yam. And jealousy, slow and poisonous, awakened beneath the waves. Yam lifted his will. The oceans obeyed. Waves climbed higher than memory. Black waters twisted into monstrous walls, smashing coastlines like fragile bones. Whirlpools opened like hungry mouths. Ships vanished without prayer. Even the horizon began to drown beneath Yam's wrath. His message was simple. The sky would not rule alone. While Baal gathered allies, enemies gathered storms of their own. And between loyalty and betrayal, nothing felt certain anymore. Every ally became a blade held close to the heart, capable of defense, capable of ruin. Every enemy learned patience, hiding behind tides, shadows, and silence. The divine world began to resemble a chessboard carved from destiny itself, where each move demanded sacrifice. Above it all, thunder continued to roll. Not yet war, not yet destruction, but preparation. Because the stage was no longer written in peace, it was being carved in thunder, shaped in shadow, and waiting to be sealed in blood. Betrayal did not announce itself. It crept. It learned the rhythm of Baal's empire and hid inside it. Among those who bowed before the Lord of Storms were hearts that burned with ambitions hotter than his lightning. They smiled beneath thunder, praised beneath rain, and waited beneath loyalty. Power had reshaped the heavens, and now it began to corrupt the minds that lived under it. In forgotten temples, where even gods rarely listened, figures gathered beneath dying torches. Stone walls swallowed their voices as whispers bled into conspiracy. In the corridors of darkened cities, shadows exchanged promises, hands traded silence for survival, and loyalty was sold to the highest future. Every glance became a question, every prayer became a lie. The storm was no longer only in the sky, it had entered the souls of Baal's followers. Yet Baal felt it. He moved not as a ruler, but as a living tempest. His awareness traveled faster than sight. He sensed disruption the way oceans sense moons. Before betrayal could take shape, thunder shifted direction. Before shadows could strike, lightning arrived first. His presence fractured schemes mid-birth, scattering conspirators like ash in violent wind.
Lightning became his messenger. Thunder became his verdict. Cities shook under sudden judgment. Towers split open under radiant fire. The sky spoke where Baal did not need to. Every display of power rewrote geography. Valleys became scars. Rivers changed memory. The world slowly stopped resembling the one that had existed before his rise. And with every correction, the tension thickened. Because power does not erase fear, it multiplies it. From beyond the storm lines, from a realm where life forgot how to echo, something ancient began to approach. The air grew colder without reason. Storms carried unfamiliar silence inside their roar. Even Baal's lightning hesitated, as if recognizing a presence older than thunder itself. Then Mot revealed himself, not in rage, not in spectacle, but in inevitability. Where his shadow touched, sound thinned. Where his gaze lingered, warmth retreated. Death did not charge, it arrived. His territory expanded quietly beneath chaos, marking cities, fields, and gods alike with the promise of stillness. By the time Baal truly felt Mot's nearness, the line had already been crossed. Death had learned the map of the storm. And nothing, not stone, not loyalty, not even divinity, would remain innocent, untouched, or safe again. The battle did not begin, it erupted. The world crossed a threshold where order stopped pretending it mattered. The sky tore itself apart above shattered horizons. Mountains screamed as they collapsed inward, their ancient bones snapping beneath forces older than memory. Seas boiled into black fury, swallowing coastlines in clouds of burning salt. Cities did not fall, they dissolved, erased into echoing silence where millions of lives once believed in tomorrow.
And at the center of ruin, Anat fought. She moved like living war. Each strike of her blade did more than cut flesh, it carved destiny. Sparks of fate scattered with every impact. Her war cries ripped through storm and shadow alike, daring chaos to answer her. Blood mixed with rain, fire mixed with thunder, and for a moment even the gods remembered fear. She never left Baal's side. Storm and flame fought as one, yet even their unity began to strain beneath the impossible weight of what approached. Mot advanced, not as a conqueror, but as an ending. Where he stepped, heat faded. Where he passed, sound lost courage. The chill of mortality crawled across divine skin itself. Warriors forgot strength. Winds forgot how to roar. Even lightning dimmed as if aware it was trespassing into death's territory. Mot carried no army. He carried certainty. And certainty is heavier than any weapon. Against him, storms felt mortal. Against him, thunder hesitated. Baal stood in the heart of collapsing reality, rain and lightning orbiting his form like a crown of defiance. His presence bent space itself. Rage and purpose burned inside him, not to dominate, but to refuse extinction. He did not kneel to destiny, he challenged it. Around him, the battlefield became unrecognizable. Time fractured, distance lied. Sky and ground blurred into violent abstraction. The earth no longer knew whether to rise or flee. And the world quaked, not merely from storms or blades, but from the impossible confrontation between life's fury and death's patience, between becoming and ending, between a God who refused silence and the silence that demanded him. The heavens finally broke, not with thunder, but with surrender.
The sky split open in an all-consuming crescendo, as if existence itself could no longer contain what was about to unfold. Light and darkness collapsed into one another. Reality trembled, bending under the weight of two absolutes moving toward collision. Baal and Mot met, not as warriors, as forces. Their impact sent fractures through time itself. Each strike tore at the fabric of creation, ripping through dimensions, scattering fragments of space like burning dust. Storm and silence crashed together. Thunder screamed against death's stillness. Where Baal's lightning touched Mot's void, existence forgot its own rules. Anat's war cries echoed across collapsing horizons. She fought through distortion and ruin, her blade glowing with defiance, carving survival from impossible odds. Yet even she understood the truth hidden beneath chaos. After this night, no world would remain unchanged. Mot did not attack wildly. He advanced with patience. Every movement drained color from reality. Every breath erased memory. His presence tried to turn Baal's storm into history, into something that once existed but no longer mattered. Even thunder began to weaken, swallowed by the gravity of ending. For the first time, Baal felt the edge of extinction, not fear, responsibility. He saw what Mot desired, a universe quiet forever, where rain never healed, where storms never warned, where life had no rhythm left to follow. And Baal realized his power was never meant only to destroy, it was meant to decide. Baal rose within the storm. Lightning gathered like summoned constellations. Winds folded into his will. Clouds collapsed inward, feeding him the total memory of every storm that had ever touched the world. His form burned with controlled infinity, not rage, but purpose. Then came the flash, not merely light, judgment. Baal unleashed the full magnitude of his being, not to conquer blindly, not to erase existence, but to reshape the order beneath it. Thunder became law, lightning became design, storm became balance. The blast rewrote the battlefield, forcing death itself to recognize the limits of silence. Mot was driven back into shadow, fractured by living power he could not fully erase. The world inhaled. Survivors fell to their knees beneath shattered skies. Enemies learned humility, carved in fear. Oceans calmed in reluctant obedience. Mountains settled into new shapes, remembering Baal's verdict in their bones. And across divine realms, gods whispered his name, not only in awe, not only in terror, but in understanding. Baal was no longer merely the lord of storms. He was the will that refused the end. Even the storm bowed, not in submission, but in recognition of the power that had taught it how to become eternal.